We as a union are a little bit confused where 3 weeks ago Commissioner Mullins did indicate to us that there would be 2 permanent stations taken offline.
It's the shutdown that shocked a small country town.
Didn't see it coming at all.
Well, I was shocked, I was devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do.
23 staff were given notice at Aberdeen's Walfertan tannery last Friday. A big hit for a community with a population of 1,700.
It's quite distraught to see these people having to look to the future when they thought that they would probably retire here.
Today, a handful of workers were on site as the shutdown began. The company says the decision was based on economic conditions, increased industry regulations and a drop in demand. Some staff will be offered positions at Walfertan's Gunnedah operation, but that's little comfort for those who call Aberdeen home.
There's no work around. Everybody just can't go to the mines.
There's a lot of workers here that only got 3 and 4 years before they retire. Where are they going to get jobs?
Workers will meet with the company tomorrow to finalise their entitlements. There are also frantic efforts to find them employment elsewhere.
I think, as always, in small communities, everybody's rallying together.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
The sniffles started early this season.
It seems to be a heavier influenza season.
Web-based surveillance system flutracking.net provides a powerful snapshot of the disease's spread around Australia. Every Monday during the colder months, 13,000 volunteers answer a short email detailing any flu symptoms and their severity.
With a dynamic disease like influenza, the sooner we have real information from the ground, the better.
Now the information is being mapped. In New South Wales, the Hunter region is a current hotspot, while Tasmania is also feeling the misery.
They can see where influenza-like activity is occurring in around Australia at postcode level. And that's also been helpful for us to see where is the flu moving to.
The flu season could stretch to the end of September, and health experts say it's not too late to get vaccinated, especially for those in high-risk groups. Meanwhile, Flu Tracking is looking for more participants to become virtual health detectives.
2 months ago, the Knights were wooden spoon contenders. Now confidence is so high the forwards are playing like halves. Alex McKinnon set up Kevin Nagama for 2 tries.
I can do other stuff, I just kind of choose not to so I can keep me spot if I don't stuff it up. But yeah, it was just to kind of chance my arm on the weekend and it come off.
The 20-year-old wants to establish himself as an 80-minute player.
Wayne cut to me 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago against Manly and said, did you want to start? And I said, yeah. I was really happy about that.
Dane Gagai says Akila Uate is helping to make him look good, but he made his own luck on the weekend. He wasn't expecting to feature heavily in first grade this year, especially at centre.
Going from wing, not having to make too many tackles, going into centre, making a bit more. The body was a bit sore after the first few games, but I think I'm starting to get a bit used to it now and the body's pulling up pretty good.
Meanwhile, Kate Snowden ran freely for the first time today since suffering a knee injury against the Eels. Just a day after finishing 7th in the 400-metre individual medley, Thomas Fraser-Holmes was slow off the block in his 200 freestyle heat. Fortunately, he made his move just in time to qualify for the semis. Starting in lane 1, the 20-year-old tried to put pressure on the big names early. By the final lap, Fraser-Holmes had done enough to grab the last spot in the final.
I'm so happy right now. I've made 2 finals, I've made the first Olympics, so, I can't get better than that.
It was a tougher day for Merewether's Richie Campbell as the Aussie water polo team went down to Italy. Campbell still produced a moment to savour, scoring the Sharks' second goal. Australia faces Kazakhstan tomorrow. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
The government needs to deliver what they said that they would deliver, and that's $33 million extra funding to health services in the Hunter.
It's a little bit like bartering.
It's built on the premise of 1 hour for 1 hour. So if someone does volunteering for 1 hour, say they do 1 hour's work in the school canteen, they can bank 1 hour that they can then withdraw from the bank for something that they need to have done.
Australia is set to run its first ever pilot program for time banking, and it's being done right here in the Hunter and on the Central Coast.
It's the opportunity for us to really put a stamp on the region as a volunteering hub.
Launched in Newcastle today, it was a clear choice for the state government.
In the Central Coast and the Hunter, there's 100,000 people already involved with volunteering organisations. That's almost 16% of the population.
The whole point of the project is to increase the number of volunteers, and it has the potential to see a 50% jump across the Hunter and Central Coast. And it's a little easier than you think to get involved.
It now includes not just volunteers, but those people that help neighbours, those people that give to their community. So it's a wonderful opportunity of opening up volunteering.
The trial starts in September. Amy Ziniak, NBN News.
I think if we can just keep the ball away from him, or I suppose maybe get it in the air and not let him have much time, will be the best thing for us.
Lining up for his second final in 2 days, Thomas Fraser-Holmes faced another all-star cast. Once again, he went out hard. In the end, the 20-year-old finished a respectable 7th.
You know, it's only going to come in years to come. I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to be older, and I'm going to be wiser, so good things ahead, I think.
Currently based on the Gold Coast, it's clear where his heart lies.
Just everyone back in Newcastle, thanks for support, and love you guys, thanks.
To sailing, and it was a nervous start for Lake Macquarie pair Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen in the 49er class.
Oh, Australia, the gold medal favourites, jump the gun. They are having to recross the line. That is a big shock.
The Aussies battled their way back in race 1 to finish 8th. The world champions then won race 2, ending the day in 3rd overall. On the court, the Hunters' Susie Batkovich was Australia's best in that 4-point loss. The veteran dropped in 17 points and grabbed 10 rebounds to keep the Opals in touch. Finally, to hockey, and Maitland's Simon Orchard was a major contributor in the Kookaburras win over South Africa. The Olympic debutant was involved in 3 of Australia's 6 goals.
Due to him being suspended, is actually nearly 17 times over the legal limit for that driver.
It's a very small site. It would be very easy to identify people coming and going. The safety issue is the real problem.
East Cessnock Bowling Club is ensuring that if thieves strike again, they'll leave with a lot more than they bargained for.
It's a colourless and odourless chemical which sprays as an offender's leaving after an armed hold-up or break and enter.
DNA Guardian is a new kind of security system. Thieves are sprayed with a mist containing synthetic DNA as they make their escape. The chemical stays on the skin and clothes for nearly 2 months. In conjunction with CCTV footage, it can help police place an offender at a crime scene.
As soon as the police pick them up, hit them with the black light, they light up like a Christmas tree and yeah, it's all over.
The Cessnock Club is the first place in the Hunter to trial the technology.
They don't seem to have a lot of respect for the security that we've got in place.
Staff say the decision to install the system was a no-brainer. After a string of robberies and a terrifying armed hold-up here last year, the club says it will do anything to protect its staff. The system costs more than $3,000, but Mr Pryor believes it's money well spent.
We figure that with the DNA system, they're going to think twice about even coming in.
Stephanie Jeans, NBN News.
And we're asking people to make a Newcastle icon out of Lego. That can be a person, it can be a building, it can be whatever you like.
This, his last London appearance. Finals in the 200 and 400 metres, now he'd have to step up again. The 20-year-old from Newcastle would swim first in the 4x200 relay against America's best, Ryan Lochte. In lane 6, 3 from the bottom, Fraser Holmes got off to a slow start. He soon worked through to second and put the young Aussie outfit in reach of what would have been an unexpected medal. But by the fourth leg, Australia had lost touch. The fifth placing, though, perhaps a golden sign for the future.
We put in a massive effort. That was a tough-as field, and, you know, all credit to the guys who won, and, you know, I can guarantee in 4 years' time we'll be pushing for that first place.
At the water polo, Richie Campbell and his fellow Aussies found themselves in an arm wrestle with Kazakhstan. They were hanging on to the Merriweather 24-year-old for good reason. Luck wasn't on his side. Australia eventually pulled away though, making the last quarter count. 7-4 the end score, the Aussies getting a confidence boost ahead of an all-important game against Spain.
Meet the foal who just couldn't wait to enter the world. Due today, this energetic filly arrived 4 weeks early, determined not to miss the horse's birthday party.
That's always a dangerous time, and it had to go into quite a bit of intensive care, but it's all worked out well, and she's a little beauty.
And a valuable one too.
There's foals that are going to be hitting the ground here that could be worth anywhere up to $500,000.
And this lady in waiting, former turf star Typhoon Tracy, could provide breeders with that kind of cash. She's one of 180 mares at Vinery Stud in a regional business that's buoyant.
The Hunter Valley is the major source of thoroughbreds in Australia. Basically, it produces half of the foal crop for the whole country, and at least 70% of the export horses are bred in the Hunter Valley.
And what's a birthday without cake? Scone also celebrated today with its youngest two-legged citizens, including Chester, who shares his special day.
We've got some horses and I get to say happy birthday to my horses on my own birthday.
Christy Reading, NBN News.
Which will see the only jurisdiction in Australia set to trial the NDIS with 10,000 participants.
A little bit shocked and disappointed that it wasn't dealt with today, but we'll move on and wait for the 17th.
For 30 years, it's provided the Cessnock community with much-needed employment and training services.
So we look after disengaged youth, kids that have got a few issues that just need a helping hand to get them back on track. So we help them and we try to get through those issues, break down those barriers, and get them living a positive life.
But NorthNet is weighing up its options following a fall in state funding. It believes it's an organisation the community can't afford to lose.
A lot of the people are unemployed. Their barrier to unemployment is that they need more education. We train them in areas that are focused in this area as a skills need.
Look, I'm 15 and a half weeks pregnant, and they've shown me that, with a course and with education and work placement, that they're going to get me a job.
Recently, within the last 5 months, I was homeless. The workers here have put me into a refuge, put a stable roof over my head. They've given me confidence to go out into the workplace.
Cessnock Council, for one, says it'll do everything it can to help. Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
The concept plan for Mayfield has been approved, and that will allow even more growth within the port.
Our Golden Girls from Beijing back on the blocks. And for the 22-year-old from Merewether, this was more than a heat. She was swimming to secure a spot in the team for the final, and the disappointment of missing the cut 4 years ago was clearly on her mind. Despite making it a body length at one stage, the last lap was a real test, but Bainbridge kept Australia in touch. The Hunter girl was dropped from the final foursome, her silver handed over behind the scenes. Yesterday, their Olympic dream almost came crashing down. Today, it was smooth sailing. Lake Macquarie's Nathan Outeridge and Ian Jensen cruising to a second and a first in the 49ers, extending their lead from 9 to 13 points at the halfway mark of the regatta. There was an early celebration for the Hunter at the hockey. Simon Orchard paying tribute to the Maitland Rams after his first Olympic goal. The 25-year-old midfielder praised for his tireless effort in the 5-0 win over Spain.
It was all smiles today for the 12 faces fronting the Community One Independence ticket in the September local government elections. The candidates for each ward were keen to put on a united front as they outlined their agendas.
A more cohesive council and a council that are working together rather than against each other.
To finally make sure that Ward 4 is recognised as part of the city.
Parking obviously is a big issue. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with parking.
I see council as being leaders and social entrepreneurs and setting a direction and looking into the future.
But while the candidates were keen to talk about their intentions, the team leader was remaining tight-lipped about his.
I'll be making my intentions known before the close of nominations, which is Wednesday next week, but this group will have a Lord Mayoral candidate. You can be sure of that.
One mayoral candidate not beating around the bush is developer Jeff McCloy. A meeting next week is set to determine whether he'll gain the support of the Liberal Party.
Hunter Street needs cleaning up, tidying up, and needs a physical change so that we can get the shopkeepers back.
Kath Landers, NBN News.
the ones where at the back you get through and you make encounters, and that's what we were working on. And, you know, so long as we keep the rest of the event inside the top 10, I think we'll be in a pretty good shape.
These boys from San Clemente High were clearly happy to watch today's session, but nowhere near as much as Jade Porter. The 31-year-old from Sydney wasn't sure he'd see 2012, let alone August.
Got diagnosed eventually with a grey zone lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer. And yeah, just been sort of fighting it ever since, and yeah, got it all clear about a month or two ago, and yeah, just getting back to normal life now.
Before getting sick, Jade was a 105-kilo forward. He's lost more than 40 kilos. A visit to night's training was one of the things he used to keep himself motivated during treatment. As usual, his family and friends were right by his side today.
I got a membership for the first time for the Knights last year, hoping to come up to a lot of the home games, and just haven't been mobile enough to be able to go. So to be able to feel that good in myself now, to be able to come up here and spend a day with the guys is just, yeah, it's awesome.
Meanwhile, Akili Uate continues to impress following his axing from the Blues.
I'm just having a bit more fun out there, and winning games is just get me excited.
He insists he'll be fine to take the field against the Bulldogs despite nursing a stiff back. No such worries for fellow winger Kevin Nagama, who today signed on for another season.
He's flying, Kevy. He reckons faster than me, and he's been going really good, so I'm really proud of him.
They're back and they've still got it. This crew of old-school Australian skateboarders known as Moss got together in Newcastle today and proved they've still got the moves.
Now, how do you guys fare against the youngsters out here?
I think we're holding our own.
But unlike their carefree days in the 1970s and 80s, they now ride for a very worthy cause. A cause that echoes from the sun and surf in Newcastle all the way to Swaziland in Africa.
Girls can't go to school because they have to carry water all day.
The group raises money for the Moss Water Project, a charity which helps supply villages in Africa with fresh water.
I think we've got it pretty good here in Australia, and if we can do something to supply some water to some villages in Swaziland, that's great.
These guys have been riding for the cause since 2005, and since then they've raised enough money to provide water for around 3,000 people in Swaziland. They're hoping to raise more tonight, auctioning off skateboarding merchandise at the Burwood Inn in Merriweather.
I just think if everybody in the world did their bit, there'd probably be a lot less poverty.
Stephanie Jeans, NBN News.
Because my nephew Lachlan was diagnosed with Tourette's last October, so yeah, it's very close to our hearts.
Competing at her third Olympics, Newcastle's Susie Batkovich continues to prove her worth. She top scored for the Opals and also found time to find her teammates. Maitland's Simon Orchard made his intentions clear early against Argentina. Despite the 2-2 draw, the Kookaburras remain on track for a medal. Danny Samuel saved her best for last to qualify for the discus final. The defending Hunter Track Classic champion then revealed Knights coach Wayne Bennett has helped to revive her career.
I was very honoured to meet Wayne at the beginning of the year and, just see what he had to say. And, I took a lot of that into today is, the two things I was thinking was believe in yourself and execute the throw.
To help raise money for SIDS research, the Greens and Hawks were both seeing red. While Mark Richards proved as far as rugby players go, he's a brilliant surfer. From the real kick-off, Merriweather looked in control until Steve Sione grabbed an intercept inside his own half. The home side hit back when Sean Rudder put Aidan Kelso into space. Making his long-awaited return from injury, Sam Clifton scored Merriweather's second, thanks to some solid lead-up work by Dan Kevill. The Greens extended their advantage as Sam Bright and Kevill combined. With the game slipping away, Paddy Kilmurray gave the competition leaders something to smile about. But on the stroke of half-time, Ed McDonald celebrated his 100th first-grade appearance with the day's most popular try. The Greens picked up where they left off after the break. A long-range effort saw Clifton score his second as the defending premiers continue to build for the finals.
Off to work, and these staff aren't exactly happy to walk.
I'm pretty pissed off about it. It's ridiculous to have to pay for parking, especially when we work here.
Westfield started charging its workers a Katara 5 days ago. So rather than pay, they've turned to the streets, according to some residents, like never before.
If you've got to reverse out and like coming down, you can't see cars coming down until you're virtually out in the street. So it's only a matter of time before someone gets hit or has an accident.
Westfield have got to be responsible. They're the ones dragging everyone into the area.
This long-running battle came to a head in court last month. Westfield ultimately came out on top of Newcastle Council and the residents. As outlined in a letter to staff last week, it was made to provide extra parking spaces, but won the right to charge $2.50. Given there's now 320 spaces for an estimated 900-strong workforce, it was clear today many staff aren't buying it.
We're here to actually make money, not spend money.
And it appears money is now the problem in council mounting any further legal action.
It's an appalling situation and it really does show Westfield is not a great corporate citizen.
3 years ago, the Westfield Group made $2.8 billion. 2 years ago, it was $2.3, and last year, it was $1.5 billion. Yet it says it can't let its staff park for free.
It's not much a day, but when it adds up over the weeks, it's a lot of money.
Is it a matter of principle?
Yeah, it is.
Westfield was unable to return our calls for comment. Nat Wallace, NBN News.
It looked like it was going to be a long afternoon for Souths as the league-leading Goannas scored the opening try from deep inside their own half, finished by Terence Siu. Things went from bad to worse from the restart as Dane Queenan kicked out on the full. Still, the home side was unlucky not to draw level as Jake Learmouth's boot caught the sideline. A few minutes later, the Lions were back in business thanks to Teason Fa'ave Eli. Cessnock responded as Riley Brown stabbed a short kick through for Jacob McKendry. Souths were low on troops but not on determination. Captain Matt Shipway brought them back with a 4-pointer out wide. But a handful of mistakes would prove costly. Nick Christensen's knock-on gave away possession. Brown and McKendry showed no mercy as Cessnock went back in front. Just before the break, Brown decided to go it alone, but the result was more of the same. It was a similar story in the second half, the visitors wasting no time extending their advantage. A double to Beau Ryan, icing on Cessnock's cake as the Goannas continue their march toward the minor premiership.
If they're going to cut 15,000 jobs and take away 1,000 jobs out of the Hunter, people are going to really experience it.
I'm worried because it's not only affects our safety of being there and having a backup crew sort of following us as well, but it's more about the community.
For some, it's no longer fun and games.
We're unhappy because that report's misrepresenting us.
A council report tomorrow will decide what happens here and at 6 other Newcastle Council-owned childcare centres. While the gate now appears closed on privatisation, volunteers claim Council's new plan of giving the centres to community bodies is not a step in the right direction.
They wanted us to look at the gifting option, and that's certainly the proposal that we're putting to Council tomorrow night.
There's a lot of costs that haven't been spelled out to us. We may be liable for up to 35K's worth of stamp duty. Haven't been given time and haven't been given enough information.
Gifting may be a great option, but it may not.
And those caught in the middle are calling on Council to wait.
If we can put it on hold, then at least there'll be more time to go through all of the options and discuss it properly rather than just rush something through that's going to potentially then affect us again in the next coming years.
They want this issue to be resolved and resolved as soon as possible, so that's not an option for them or for us.
Given its financial situation, pausing this sell-off could be a setback to Council's bottom line. At the moment, these childcare centres are costing them about $60,000 a year at best.
It is a complete fallacy that they are some sort of expensive burden on the ratepayer. It's just not true.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
The report showed that due to serious health concerns, nearly 80% of Newcastle residents don't want a fourth coal terminal in Newcastle.
Their aim was to finish in the top 10 in all of the 15 preliminary races. Not only are Nathan Outteridge and Ian Jensen on course to achieve that, overnight they won races 12 and 13 to move a giant step closer to gold. Back in London, Maitland's Simon Orchard was doing his best to hamper the hosts. The Kookaburras now need a draw against Pakistan to guarantee a place in the semis. On the court, and while the Opals got home by 9, it was an off night for Newcastle's Susie Batkovich. One of Australia's top scorers at these games, she struggled against Canada, finishing none from 7 from the field, 2 from 2 at the line. She'll look to bounce back when the Opals play China in the quarterfinals. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
It was tough. Surface is tough to play on, and I was really quick this afternoon. But yeah, we gave it a good match.
This is awesome, like this is as good as it gets. It's a great relief to be 20 points up going into the medal race. It just takes all the pressure off, and now you can start to relax and enjoy the moment.
She's been charged with ongoing supply and also with dealing with the proceeds of crime.
The end of an era for Newcastle Art Gallery today as the Children's Art Pavilion was destroyed piece by piece. A bittersweet moment for its architect, Chris Tucker.
Its life at one stage was only 3 years and it's been here for 16, so it's had a reasonable life.
It's part of the gallery's upgrade, but council is still waiting for the state government to commit $7 million in funding.
The federal government has provided $7 million and we would like the state government to come in, so it's a partnership between the federal government, the state government and ourselves.
Nothing has come to date and it wasn't articulated in the last budget, but I'm pushing very, very hard that in the next budget that we get the $7 million from the state government.
Lord Mayor John Tate says that will be too late. Council needs an answer in the coming months.
It really begs the question, and this will be something for the new council, will they proceed with the art gallery redevelopment or not if this money is not available?
I mean, we all know it isn't in jeopardy, is the bottom line, and the council is going to develop a $21 million development. It's just that we have got to it's a matter of me working very, very hard.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
In exchange for getting a rental subsidy, need to be in full-time education or training or in a job.
You've got to have a stable roof over your head before they'll give you a job. That way they know that you're going to turn up to work.
He capsized on his way to gold in China. This time, Nathan Outeridge has left nothing to chance.
We knew if we just did our job that it was going to happen, and the fact that it's happened before the final race is even more incredible for us.
Outeridge and his 49er teammate Ian Jensen were almost late to the start of race 14, keen to watch fellow Aussie Tom Slingsby.
We saw him after the event and he was all pumped up and really happy, and yeah, he definitely deserved it, and it sort of gives you a little bit of butterflies before the start of the race, but we're lucky we could settle down and refocus and get the job done.
The Lake Macquarie pair needed to maintain a lead over the Kiwis. A first and a third did just that. What a day too for Merewether's Richie Campbell, as he helped Australia to a confidence-boosting water polo win over Greece. Campbell scored twice in the Sharks' 13-8 victory. They're now expected to face Serbia in the quarters. And Ben Harradine says there's plenty of petrol left in the tank after qualifying for the discus final. His first throw of 64 metres was enough to move him into 9th for the medal round, which takes place early tomorrow morning Australian time.
I've enjoyed it. I've made more friends than enemies. I'd like to see it continue with the way it's going and with better ideas that are coming into it.